joined today by the next three competitors selected for Trial by Combat 2022. Why don't you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Hi, my name is Ben Crosby, and I'm a senior from Patrick Henry College.
Hi, my name is Riya Lakkaraju, and I am a senior for Emory.
Hey, my name is Thomas Azari. I am a senior from the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, UMBC.
So at the time of this recording, we are just a couple of days away from NCT, and it feels like orcs were a long time ago, but they actually were just a few weeks ago. Now that all the orcs were finished, what result surprised you guys the most at orcs?
I think for me, what surprised me the most, and I get a little chance here to brag about our B team, was not just PHCB going through, but having the best record at our orcs. And why it surprised me was not because they don't have the talent to do it, because obviously they do, but it's because that team started out this year as our C team, and it's captained extremely well by Luke Argue and Andrew Blyler. And they took a team of people who were really raw just 1 year ago, and now have brought them through to a national championship, just steamrolling through orcs. So I think that not only was I surprised, but I was pleasantly surprised and very proud to see them do that.
Riya?
I think for me, I was really, in the best way possible, surprised to see Dillard make it to nationals. I have been following like their, I guess, journey through this season, and I saw like the big video of them cheering and everything that went on the news when they got a bid to orcs, and then I saw another similar one that they posted after they got their bid to nationals, and seeing them so excited. I mean, I'm rooting for them. Like, I hope that they do really well. I think it's so incredible that they've made it so far, like all within the span of 1 year. And so it was surprising in like the best way possible. And I hope that this is just, the first year in a long stretch of years where we'll see them at nationals.
Yeah, I was in touch with one of the competitors on that team throughout the year, actually. And I was really pleasantly surprised as well. It's always cool to see the non kind of usual suspects making a run. And we've seen that in previous years, but I think it's really cool that they're going to be at nationals. And I think they are one of the teams that everyone is rooting for to do well at NCT. Thomas, last but not least.
Hey, man, Rhea already took it from me, but I was also going to say Dillard. I mean, Ben has talked about them since pretty much the beginning of the regionals run, and it was so cool to see that. And I'm so happy for them. And they took a amazing first round off of a very good team. And I love that story is so fun. I mean, like we all root for the underdog. So I love to see that.
All right. Now that you guys totally skirted my question, I'm going to ask you a better question. What team not making it to NCT surprised you the most?
I will speak from personal experience and say University of South Carolina, A. We went against them round 3 at our orcs. And if you're familiar with the tab summary, it was a +1, -11 round. And they are just phenomenal. And there's no doubt in my mind, they deserve to be at nationals. And every year there's teams that just, by the luck of the draw, the way things shake out, deserving teams that don't make it out. That to me was a surprise, because I think they are really solid. And I think, they're just great. So that was a surprise to me. I was bummed about that.
And that's the team that's led by the other Ben Wallace, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
And he's phenomenal. He's unbelievable.
Shout out to the other Ben Wallace. Riya, what team not making NCT surprised you the most?
That's tough. I think for me, it's probably Penn State. They're in a different region from us, so I don't compete against them that often, but we hit them a ton last year online, like scrimmages, orcs. Like we had a lot of interactions last year. They're a phenomenal team. And then not to mention this year they won GAMTI, and so just they had like an incredibly strong season. And then like Ben said, like luck of the draw, like sometimes it just, things just don't work out the way that we want them to. But that was a really, really strong team. So I was surprised after, the incredible season they've been having, to see that they didn't make it out. But yeah, that was, I think, the one that surprised me the most.
All right, Thomas, before you answer, you can't say what Ben and Riya said.
I won't. I promise. I was thinking about it, but I'm not gonna do it. I think I would have to probably say Michigan. I mean, we were like sitting right next to each other, and it was really like I've hit them a bunch of times, and like they're really good. They've always been really good as far as I've known. But it was really like bittersweet for us because I knew that how much you can tell how much work everybody puts in just by looking at them, right? And I saw like right next to me like people having the opposite reaction that I was having, and it's like it's a little bit surreal, it's bittersweet, and I my heart goes out to them, and I know that they're going to keep doing well in the future. So yeah.
So one of the things that happens at the law school level is, at least at Drexel, is kind of monitoring what's going on in the law school circuit to see who's going to be invited to Top Gun year to year. And it occurs to me that while I'm having those thoughts right now, waiting for Top Gun invitations to go out in a few weeks, that the college team is maybe having the same reaction to the trial by combat announcements. So kind of give me a sense through going back to August when the first invitationals are happening in September and October, how much are you guys thinking about your individual performances and awards and your team's results? And how much discussion is there around the country about, this person's doing well, this person's had a slow start? How much discussion is there and how much are you thinking about that?
I mean, I think that there is, I'm sure, a lot of discussion about it. And just from looking at Facebook groups and all that, I know there's lots of spreadsheets and stuff out there. So I know there's lots of talk about it. On a personal level, I think, like Phil, I think you're right. Going in, even in the first semester invitational season, you are certainly thinking in the back of your mind, I can't, just come out and treat this as nothing or just an invitational. Not just because it's not good for your own, development or your own growth, but like if you want to end up at a competition that's as rich and as crazy intense as this one, you have to show that you're not letting up the gas at any stage, at any level. Not to say that individual awards are always the best reflection of that, because there's luck that goes into those too. But generally, I think AMTA has a pretty good system of showing, the amount of work that you're putting into individual performances. And I think, we got to think about that from the very beginning.
Yeah, from my perspective, I couldn't have said it better, honestly. I share sort of the same feelings with Ben on that front. I think that I'm sure Thomas and Ben probably feel similarly, like looking back now that we're all seniors on like our last year of competition, I think that when I think about it, like I definitely thought a lot more about it last year than I did this year, I think, just because I think that this year I sort of knew that if I did want to go to nationals and do well at nationals, it was going to be my team and my last shot to get that done. And so as much as I did want trial by combat, I think that I sort of had the mentality this year that if I worked really hard to help my team get a bid and like we, worked on that front, then it would just sort of come naturally. Like one would lead to the other if I just put my best effort to sort of focusing on like getting to nationals. Last year, I think I could probably say that it was a little bit different. Maybe that's because I had more time on the circuit and I knew that like if I wanted to go last year, then I really did need to focus on my individual award count more. But I think that as time has gone on, like my perspective has maybe changed a little bit on, I guess, how much I'm really thinking about individual awards and stuff like that during competition. I think last year was probably a lot more realistically, if I'm being honest, but this year I think maybe a little bit less just because it's our last year competing. And so I kind of wanted to make the most of that for my team.
Yeah, I think like my philosophy is very similar to Ria's in that it's not. I just like when I was a freshman and I first heard about it, I was like, wow, this is really cool. And I first heard about Top Gun and I watched this guy. I forgot his name. I think it was started with a P. I think he won the whole thing, and I was like, wow, this guy's really good. Of course, I'm talking about you, Phil. I watched that my freshman year. I watched the old Ben Wallace rounds, and I was like, wow, these guys are really good. And I watched Nick Ramos. Wow, really good. And I wanted to do that. I always wanted to do that. And I watched Sydney go through the process. I helped her with scrimmages. And I was like, I got to do my own 24-hour prep period. That was crazy. But, I was a sophomore, and it was a lot of fun. But it's in the back of your mind, and sometimes it's really far back there, and sometimes it's not so far back there. I think like in our unstacked seasons, it's really far back there. Like I'm not thinking about it at all. Once we get to like kind of orcs and regionals, I'm like, okay, like I gotta kind of like get serious about it. But I'm unstacked season, I'm thinking more about our team than I'm thinking about myself. But it worked out. So
it did for all three of you. So we are just a couple of days away from NCT. So Riya was on the show recently, and that episode is about to air as soon as this is over. So stay tuned. It was a really good one. So Riya has already been through this, so I'm going to give her a chance to amend her answer if she wants to. But tell me who you guys think the two teams in the national final in a couple of days are going to be.
I think.
Sorry, Ben. Go ahead.
Oh, no. Yeah. I'm a big Tufts fan, and I think I would say either Tufts or UMBC in that division. I'm gonna give the nod to Tufts, but I think it could be a toss up there. I think Tufts and Emory would be my two.
I forgot to say you can't pick each other's teams. Damn it. All right, why don't you say it? So
too late. It's too late now. I already got my picks locked in.
Too late. Oh my God. All right. Riya, I have to be honest, I don't remember what you said in the episode.
I don't remember either.
So stay tuned. If you want to know what Riya said originally, you're going to have to fast forward to the end of this episode. But Riya, sitting here a couple of weeks later after we recorded that one, do you have thoughts?
Yeah. So I also don't completely remember what I said in that one. What I do remember is that I'm pretty sure I said UMBC and Patrick Henry pre-divisions coming out. What I'll say on both of those fronts though is that I'm like 90% sure that I said that UMBC would be in the final round. A, because you cannot count out the final round front runners. We hit UMBC multiple times this year, and like you guys are phenomenal. Like obviously, I think that you're gonna. I would not want to be in a round against you guys. And second, on Patrick Henry, I've been saying this since October, since I scouted Ben's team at Classic City, that especially with this case, like, and I shouldn't say this because we're in the same division, like this is not bode well for me saying this, but like, I think that you guys are incredible. Like I've been saying this for months and months and months. Like, I think you guys have a really great shot at the final. Like it just, the creativity I've seen from you guys, like I've seen from very few teams on the circuit, especially in person. Like I'll be really excited to see what both of you guys put on. Maybe not so much your team, Ben, because you're in our division, but Thomas, good luck to you.
Thank you so much, Riya.
And Thomas is like, I think it's going to be Patrick Henry
and Emory.
Don't do it.
So, yeah.
Don't do
I
it.
dare you.
Don't.
I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it. But thank you. I don't get a chance to say thank you so many as many times as I think I should. But yeah, your words are very nice, and I appreciate them. But yeah. So I agree with Riya about Patrick Henry and about Ben. They are really good. I played them yesterday.
It's true.
Ben is really good.
You guys meet up in person?
Yeah.
They came over to UMBC.
Geography is hard. Where is Patrick Henry again?
It's like an hour and a half, I think. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's like an hour and a half. I don't know if you or most people know this, but UMBC and PHC have kind of had a love affair for a number of years, and they're just kind of our favorite scrim buddies.
Is it okay if I tell a little story, Phil, before I answer?
Of course.
It's very short, I promise. Okay, well, we've already reminisced, me and Ben, about this, but we did it yesterday. But we had our scrimmages in our information technologies building at UMBC. It's called ITE, and there's a set of rooms in that hall that are perfect for scrimmages, and they're like one of, I think, 5 rooms on our entire campus that are okay for scrimmages in terms of mock trial. But in my freshman year, and also Ben's freshman year, we had a pre-national scrimmage in that exact same building 2 doors down from the room that we had our scrimmage pre-nationals yesterday. And what's even more like cherry on top is that me and Ben both played Southern Witnesses at the same exact time our freshman years, and then we closed against each other, and then did other things against each other, which I won't say, Ben. But,
What was it?
Are you sure?
I'm not gonna spoil
sure?
anything for anybody who wants to play Patrick Henry. I'm not spoiling anything. It's not a surprise that Ben is closing. He's very good at that. But I'm sorry if that was a surprise. But anyways, I think that Patrick Henry is going to win their division. I think it's their year. For the other division, if I'm allowed to say Tufts, I'm gonna say Tufts. I think it's their year. They're really good. Bennett, I know him. You know him. Everybody knows him.
Everybody knows Bennett.
Yeah, he's good.
Who doesn't? Okay. I think those are all okay predictions. I totally ruined this. I need to figure out a way to make this more fun next year so that you guys are actually having answers that are not just praising each other, but whatever.
Diplomatic. We're very diplomatic. This is what we do.
You're nice people. That's all comes out to. All right. So Trial by Combat 2022. Who's going to win? You may not pick each other. Go.
It's good that you said that, because these two are definitely people who I would have picked. But to continue what I was saying about Tufts, I am a
You're all gonna say Bennett, aren't you? All three of you are gonna say Bennett.
Hey, you might be surprised. Hey, you might be surprised.
I'm gonna say Bennett. I got to watch him up close and personal in the final round last year, and in I think round 2. He's phenomenal. He's so good. And yeah, I think it's his time.
You haven't started writing the case yet. I wonder if there's a way to write a case that's really bad for Bennett. What will be his weakness? Is there
no cabinets? No cabinets.
Right, one where you
100%. Anything that's even cabinet adjacent is out.
No, the word cabinet cannot be present in that case.
There's not even going to be houses in it. It's going to be set on the moon.
Find something else. You say that, but he won't bring a cabinet. He'll bring he'll bring something. He'll make an origami demo that he can use. He'll find some way to.
There's a whole Vegas betting category just on what demos Bennett is going to bring to Trial by Combat.
I still think I still cannot believe every time I see a still shot of the cabinets or whatever, that he actually went out and got that stuff for the tournament. Literally what happened, and I've said this before, Jess and I, who's my girlfriend who helps us with combat, when we took the photos and stuff, we just had a couple things in our fridge. And I think a couple of them are specific to Pennsylvania where we live. So I don't really know how he did that. But kudos to him, I guess. Anyway, Riya, who's your pick?
I was also gonna say that, but as much as I hate feeding Bennett's ego, but I hate it so much. But I'm not gonna say Bennett.
Before you answer, Riya, I think we can all agree that you are one of the most, if not the most, respected current competitor in terms of opinions and things like that.
Riya is very good and very smart.
Agreed.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
I'm not going to put any stipulations on it. You can pick yourself. You can pick Bennett. You can pick Ben or Thomas. Tell me who you actually think is going to win. And just no politics, no niceties, just the truth. Who's going to win?
So, okay. There's multiple layers to my opinion, I guess. Number one, I think that truly, I think Bennett has a very good chance. I had him round 4 of TBC last year. It was a really tough, that to this day is, I think, one of the greatest rounds of mock trial I have ever been in. That said, Bennett, if you're watching this, if you have to witness and it's a bad witness, I know you're going to lose. If it's a bad witness, that's going to be his weak spot. So Bennett, if you have to play a witness that's really sad or not great, I'm going to say, to tone down the ego a little bit, Bennett Demsky will not be my pick, depending on the witness. I think Liz Grant is an excellent witness and an excellent attorney. And I think at Trial by Combat, if it's in person and the witnesses are really challenging, my money, I think, will be on Liz to be the most all-rounded pick of everyone to like be able to tackle those really well. Because I saw her do both of those last year, and I think she's really talented.
Didn't Bennett have to do a tough witness last year? I mean, the friend was kind of like a sad person.
No, we can't all pick Bennett. We can't all pick Bennett. I will be the one that goes.
All right.
Does not pick Bennett.
All right, Thomas.
Well, there is nobody that likes Bennett more than me. We're very good friends. We're both from Baltimore. I'm not from Baltimore, but I live in Baltimore. But he's from Baltimore. I live in Baltimore. I've been to his house. He's a nice guy. He's very good at mock trial. But this is a pick that I don't know if a lot of people are expecting me to say, but it's true. And I've been saying this. I've actually been saying this since probably before Riya said that Patrick Henry was going to win.
Let's hear it.
Believe. I don't know if she's applied. I don't know if she's getting. I don't know anything about this. My pick for Trial by Combat 2022 is Sarah Campbell from Yale.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
okay. I mean, like that.
Sarah and I have competed against each other twice, and both times she did very well. I think some people know the first one pretty well. We opened against each other, and she ate me up. So she's really good, and I and you know, like, Sarah is one of those people that I like know is very genuine and very good at mock trial, just because she's like super smart. So I am a huge Sarah Campbell fan, and I think she's gonna win.
That's such a good answer, Thomas. And
thank you so much. I've been thinking about it.
Yeah, you're gonna get a good first round pairing for that.
Thank you so much. No cabinets, please.
Yeah.
Good first round pairing and no cabinets for me. Thank you.
You got it.
Tough witnesses.
It's going to be a highly imbalanced case, and you're going to go defense every round.
And give me a lovely character witness that I can play. I can put on a Southern accent.
Yeah.
Like I still think it's somewhere in my back pocket. Ben knows about that, and I'll do it. I was Dakota W. Rivers back in the day.
And then we'll change the witness for the rounds where you're not a witness.
Great, perfect. And make it so that Bennett gets the other guy. All right, perfect. I'm okay with that.
Poor Bennett. Bennett, I know you're watching this, and we love you. We're just kidding. We all think you're going to win. Everyone thinks you're going to win. It's totally going to be you. I'm joined today by 4 competitors who are preparing to compete in Orcs in just a few weeks, or actually a few days for a few of you. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
I'll go ahead first. I'm Riya. I compete for Emory.
I'm Sarah. I'm also from Emory.
I'm Brett, and I am from Tufts.
I'm Bennett. I'm also from Tufts.
First off, Bennett, you were 5 minutes late. Do you think you're better than us now that you've been on the show more than once?
No, I was just coming back from class and was running behind. Sorry.
I'd like to see a copy of your course schedule just to verify that.
I'll get it for you. I'll do that.
I think there was some kind of, as from an outside perspective at least, confusion surrounding that weekend and how it came to be that there was this random tournament called Windy City that happened, but Great Chicago Fire also happened. Can you guys talk about just generally what happened?
Yeah, so I can take this one. So I think it was the whole thing. I don't want to get too into it, but basically I think there was a desire from teams that were supposed to go to Chicago to want to compete in person. But Chicago, I think just because of university regulations, couldn't host it in person. And so Northwestern and Ben Garmo and Riya sort of took this project on and created this tournament sort of ran in conjunction with Great Chicago Fire. Like if teams got COVID and had to drop, they could like rejoin the Great Chicago Fire field. And it was a very nice collaboration between schools. And it was really fantastic that was able to happen and be safe.
So how does that happen? Is there like a mass email that goes out to all the GCF teams that says like, do you guys want to join this off to the side in-person tournament?
Well, I think Bennett helped a lot too with like organizing like in the initial, because I think at the beginning it was very difficult to like figure out whether or not it was feasible to do something at all, B, whether or not there was interest. And I think like Bennett and Kate Hayner-Slattery at the beginning, especially like got together like sort of an interest pool to see if there were people that would be interested in doing an in-person version if we could somehow make that happen. And we collaborated with Chicago too to kind of make it work so that we could both host in conjunction and neither group would be like losing anything, or, you know, that we could both host to the fullest of our abilities. And I think the nicest thing, honestly, was that everyone knew each other who was competing at that tournament. So I imagine like Bennett, probably that like made it a lot easier to communicate with people, just because it's not like at a certain point, like it's like your friends on these other teams. And so it's a lot easier to reach out and get together like an unofficial list than it would be when you're hosting an invite for the first time with, you know, a larger field and things like that. So it was like more of a close-knit field. So I think that it was easier to do things logistically from that point of view. Not necessarily from everything else with getting the venue and everything. Huge shout out to Ben Garmo, who like made that happen incredibly somehow by magic. But yeah, sort of on the front initial end, like Kate and Ben put in a lot of Bennett put in a lot of the legwork for that.
Was it at Northwestern?
It was
it was
downtown Chicago. So like on Michigan Avenue, which was super nice, like really great location.
What do you mean? Like it was like on the street, like in a, like
yeah,
where
it was at a hotel. Like it was at like
Okay.
this like big, like really nice, like Marriott Magnificent Mile, right?
Yeah, it was the Marriott Magnificent Mile. Yeah.
And they
It was
had
really
like,
nice.
the second floor or something was just completely conference rooms.
Yeah.
So basically, I think that was the only floor with the rooms that we were competing in. So you just went to that floor. They had like water stands outside. They had some candies. Like it was really nice.
How did they get judges? Like judges? How did they get like the tab? Who was running tab? Like who was in charge of this?
Out of
Judges was,
Northwestern.
judges was Riya. I mean, Riya got like all the judges. Like that was just totally Riya and Kate. Like
Yeah, it was honestly just a lot of emailing, a lot of crying, a lot of stress.
How soon
But
did you
then
guys
we made
know
it
this was going to
happen.
happen? Like was it day like week before, weekend
No,
before?
we had like 2 weeks. We had like 2 weeks, Bennett. Like I think that
I think it was 3. I think it was 3. I think it was 3.
3. Okay, yeah, we had like 3 weeks. Like it wasn't that bad. It was like I think I truly like the honest answer is I don't know how it happened. It was like all a fever dream. Like when I look back, I don't know how it happened. Like it just did somehow. I think that everyone who was involved in the planning just like really grinded for those 3 weeks, and it was all we did. Like all we did. It was winter break. Like I think that everyone like just stopped everything and tried to put all their energy to making that happen, and that's why it ended up happening. Plus, it also helped that everyone who was planning it had hosted an invite at some point in the past, like Ben with Charm City, like Northwestern hosted like so many tournaments this year, like regionals, plus also like, you know, their fall invite, Mock at the Rock. And then we hosted. So like, and Tufts hosted, like everyone knew what needed to be done. So there wasn't a lot of gray area, I think.
Sarah, Brett, how stressed were Riya and Bennett during all this?
Ria's regularly up in the middle of the night doing mock trials, so it's really hard to say. But I think that emailing judges is like just the worst part of any tournament. Like any time we've ever run Peach Bowl or tournament in Atlanta, judges is just the worst. Like judges just suck a lot of the time. They don't show up, they don't respond, and in person especially is really important. But I know that Riya had plenty. I mean, she's just ridiculously connected in the mock trial community. So she had lots of people who she could reach out to, and we ended up having more than enough judges, I think. Like we didn't have a massive shortage at the end of the day.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's more than enough.
A lot of Northwestern alumni like really showed up that weekend. They were huge. Like the most of the judging pool was AMTA alumni, specifically from Northwestern, even some from like other AMTA alumni from like law firms in the area who didn't compete for Northwestern, but were still AMTA alumni. Like I think almost all the judges were somehow like AMTA affiliated. So they like really showed up that weekend, which was a huge saving grace for us.
There were judges who flew out. Like it was a ridiculous undertaking.
There were people
like,
who drove in, like they really like came through.
All right.
It was really flawless. Like the tournament, I'm surprised about how effortlessly like it really went.
Me too, Brett. Me too.
If you are flying in for an impromptu mock trial tournament on the second floor of a hotel, like I love this stuff, but like who was that person? Like who flew in? Like that's crazy. That's really
Jonathan
crazy.
Parts from like he used to compete for Rice. He drove in. Kate's brother drove in like multiple from like different states to like come and judge because we asked him to.
That's crazy.
So thanks, John, and thanks, Brendan. We appreciate you.
One of the things that's been kind of strange for me is because I graduated in 2015 from college as a college competitor, and the quote unquote top invitationals are way different than they were 6 or 7 years ago. It's totally different. Gampty is still obviously a big deal, but beyond that, it's totally different. What would you guys say are the 2, 3, 4, 5 most important invitationals if you're looking at those tab summaries to figure out who in a given year is really good? Because at some tournaments now, no one sends their good teams, or you're completely unstacked, or you try weird things. But what are the couple of tournaments that you can look at with some confidence in terms of who's really good that year?
That's a good question. It is tricky. I mean, you're saying 7 or 8 years ago. From 3 or 4 years ago, it's very different. Like when I was a freshman, it was like downtown and Gampty, and now it's not that. Like it is some of it is COVID, but like a lot of the tournament structure has deteriorated over the last couple of years. There's no Q-bait anymore. There's no brick anymore. I think just off the top of my head, Gampty is still a big one. Obviously, whatever the downtown replacement is. So like usually Chicago, but this year Windy City, and then like Chicago also is big. Beyond that, in the fall, I mean, it's unstacked, so you're not going to get a huge idea of like who's going to be great at nationals. But I think Duke's Invitational is really high up there. I think Tufts Invitational, I think Mumbo Jumbo is getting up there. But yeah, the big ones are just Gampty and Chicago, which I think is here to stay as the downtown replacement.
How does Chicago become, and what was Windy City this year, but on a normal year, just Great Chicago Fire? How does that become the top tournament or one of the top? Like what happened?
Because Nats was in Chicago. It was supposed to be before COVID in 2020. So
right.
People wanted to get a look at the judges. That's why, I mean, that was a big reason why a lot of people went to Black Squirrel 3 or 4 years ago now, is because Nationals was that judging pool in Philadelphia.
I think that like whatever city Nats ends up gets hosting, like that year, whatever city Nationals ends up being in, like the invite in that city gets a huge boom that year. And then just like, cause Bennett's right. Like Chicago, that like our sophomore year, that was huge. Everyone was trying to get invites to GCF. My freshman year was even bigger, I think, with Black Squirrel when Nats was in Philly, and Black Squirrel had a huge boom that year too, where everyone was trying to get invites to Black Squirrel. And then after that, it sort of just stays at that level, I think, for a while. At least it has so far. So I think that that's a big part of it.
It would be neat if someone could bring back the downtown, but like I think it should just stay in Chicago. Like University of Chicago does a wonderful job hosting it. Like the facility where it normally is supposed to be amazing. Like it should just be. Chicago's an awesome city. It's not too expensive in the middle of January to go there. It should just stay in Chicago.
So you guys don't think the competition, the level of competition at Great Chicago Fire in the next 2 or 3 years is going to dissipate back to what it was? You think it's still going to be one of the premier tournaments?
Yeah, I do.
For sure. Yeah.
Especially
so
because
crazy.
now, like, I think now, like, I mean, we made it a point to, Emory had never done this before, but it's at a point where like we were going to fly out to go, versus we have like the other, I think, big tournament that happens is like Georgia Tech's tournament. Ramblin' Wreck is a huge tournament in the South. That's, I think, another like sort of top tier invite. And we normally go there every single year. We still went there this year, but our A made a point to like fly out and go to Chicago because it's at the point where like we just wanted to have that experience. And I think that if it's at a point where like there are really great, excellent invites that are near you, but you're still, you know, like exploring your options and going to other places, then it's at a point where like that is a really, really fantastic. I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon, nor should it. Chicago does a great job.
So the round we're about to watch is from I think round 1 of Windy City this year between your two programs. I think anyone who's been watching this can tell that you guys are pretty good friends outside of this context. What was it like drawing each other in round 1?
Terrible.
Really?
Like scary.
No,
Like,
it was
there was so much
fun.
indecision
Didn't
leading
you
up
ch-
to Bennett
didn't
was
you
like, you have
challenge
to
us?
challenge Tufts, like go challenge. Yeah, we challenged you after we were coerced. Like you were like, oh, go challenge us. Like it'll be such a fun round. It'll be such a fun round. And then we were like, like we're not sure about it. And then we did. And then I was like, well, like maybe it won't be that bad. Second the round starts, I'm like, we shouldn't have challenged Tufts. Like this was like great round, great team, which is why I wish we hadn't challenged them. But it's fine. Like it was still a great round. Obviously, love you guys, but that was a terrifying moment.
It was a big TBT to Gampty when we also.
Oh
hit you
yeah, we
guys.
also hit each other at Gampty.
But
It
that
a
was
different
unstacked.
system, but yeah,
I was
So-
timekeeper for that round, so I was
that
like,
was
you guys
timekeeper.
do
We had a
your thing.
fantastic round of mock trial bingo that round, and it was excellent.
What was the result of that round?
Oh,
was
everyone.
Yeah.
So
It
this
was
was
a tough
It was a
round.
close round though. We like
Yeah.
barely won. Like I think we like it was tough for both of our teams, I think, because Tufts was still unstacked then. Emory, it was our A team, but we had just stacked like a week ago. And so like it wasn't really, I think the full like manifestation of both of our teams was probably at Windy City when it was Tufts A and Emory A fully stacked, prep for a
I
while.
mean, honestly, before we start watching this, I don't even think I think it's closer than Gampty, but I don't even think this round at Windy City was either of our teams close to full strength.
No.
We are not that good in this round. Like I know, like Tufts is way better now. Like we can do it's sloppy. It's our first round in person.
everyone is now
It's
turning the
great.
episode off, Bennett. Thanks. Like
No.
Who wants to
Great.
watch
It's
this
still
now?
great.
Don't
It
turn
was
it
a good
off.
round. It's still a good round. There's some great moments.
But
There's some
we'll
crazy
be-
moments
like,
too,
yeah.
but it was a fun round.
It's exciting. It's just no sleep. Like
It's
we were
just in
running
terms
on
of the
maybe.
polish,
Oh,
just
yeah.
like I feel like
Yeah.
Emory Tufts rounds get very in the weeds, and then it's like mutual
do.
distraction.
I remember like Bennett and I talked about this after the round, but like I remember it was just so exhausting because like the tournament was obviously like a very last minute thing that was planned like 2 weeks later. And so we were so busy trying to like make sure the tournament happened in the first place that we didn't really like prep for the tournament, like competing in the tournament as much as we would for other tournaments. And so we were like going into that round, like no sleep, like super exhausted, just trying to like make sure that like people were showing up and like no one's dropping and like the tournament was actually functioning. And so it was just like a lot of chaos, but it was a great round. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad we did it.
So I was president of Delaware when I was a competitor there. And one of the things that people would always critique me for is I really cared about our invitational results. Like we won the Temple Hooter and Invitational 3 straight years. And we were like 8-0 every year. And I was like always so proud of it. But we were playing like unstacked teams that didn't make orcs. So it wasn't like that big of a deal that we were a nationals team. I think the good programs don't care as much about invitational results. And that was a flaw of our program at the time. How much do you guys care about how you do at invites?
But it looks like you want to talk.
I care a lot. I agree with Phil. I never want to lose. Like I don't care if it's an invite. I want to win. Like I do think Tufts has a good program culture of taking invites seriously, which I think is important. People prep. Obviously, we prep harder for orcs than we do for a fall invitational. But before an invitational is practice every day for a week. Like you're still like trying to win that invitational, which I think is a good thing for any program to have.
Yeah, I echo Bennett. I think I care. I think when it comes, I think I'm very hard on myself. So if I win an award at an invitation, I'm kind of like, oh, like, okay, it doesn't really matter. Like it's this thing. But like in terms of team wide, I'm like, oh, okay, like yeah, like we did really good if we do really well. But it definitely depends on the field, I think, in terms of how highly you take those results. But I take invitational seriously and I want to do well always.
Emory is, yeah. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Sarah. I keep cutting you off.
No, you're fine. I just didn't know if we were doing like, how much does Tufts care? How much does Emory care?
How much do you
We
guys care?
definitely- Yeah, not as much as Bennett is what I'll say. Like we don't care as much as Bennett cares.
I don't
And
think
that's
anyone cares as
because-
much as Bennett about like anything though. So it's like a high bar.
Yeah, no, and it's like there's some invites that we just like always don't shine at for whatever reason. Like Gampty, for example, like we always stack the week before Gampty. I don't know why. And like because of that, like Gampty is just never our like hot tournament. We're never like walking into Gampty like, oh yeah, we own this. Like it's kind of like, okay, like let's, try to get our bearings together. And then later in the year, if you've won an invite previously, or if you've done really well at it, I feel like that like ups the ante a little bit. Like, ooh, can we do it again? Like returning champs, woo. But if you've never done that well and or never been to that invite before, we have less expectation, I would say, of winning or placing. Like it was a nice surprise to place at Windy City this year is what I'll say, to get second.
Yeah, I think that we care about winning and like we care about doing well, but we're kind to ourselves when we don't, because I think that like we try not to like let it impact our morale too much going later on into the season. So we try to like manage our expectations a little bit. So we like work hard as though we want to win the tournament, but when it actually comes to the tournament, we just like try to do our best during the round. Then if we do well, then like we're happy that we do well, but we know that like if we sometimes for us, like just with the personalities in our program, like the way that we are, like we can, if we get too invested, it can, and we end up doing poorly, it can like hurt us just as much as it helps us. So we try to like balance it a little bit, but yeah, like we don't like losing either. So like we definitely play to win at every tournament that we go to.
Let's get into this. So, but actually, before we start, why don't you guys, I think anyone who's watching knows what this case is about. Why don't you guys tell us the witness we're about to watch and what we're about to see?
That's me. I'm Alex Silva. I tend to play crying witnesses. I hate watching myself in round, but I am braving through it. And yeah, I just do a classic background. Silva actually, compared to a lot of other crying witnesses, I found actually has quite a bit of information. It's a pretty good fact witness.
Yeah.
So yeah, give the facts, then start to cry. It's basically my thing.
Let's see it.
And Your Honor, before we start, permission to set up the well for use of a demonstrative. Go ahead.
Oh, this demonstrative is I don't like this demonstrative.
That is Gladiator alum Cole Reese, right?
Yes, we love Cole. Cole is wonderful.
When I watched this, I was like, what is this thing with all these dots on it? I had no idea it was going to be like a timeline until Cole was like, can we like reveal the first putting the timeline? And then I realized, but I was very confused.
Wait, is this the timeline I called out?
Oh yeah, Sarah, you completely go at me on this.
This timeline got thrown out after this round. We didn't use it the next day. Like this timeline was done.
Wait, that was I didn't know if that was petty. It was a little petty, but yeah.
It's whatevs.
Yeah, but Cole is wonderful. He's the one doing the direct examination here. He is a freshman, and you would not know it from watching him. This guy is absolutely incredible. You are going to hear his name a lot in the next 4 years.
Yes. Agree.
Self to the jury.
Good morning. Hi, I'm Alex Silva.
Could you tell us what you do for a living, Miss Silva?
I work as a firefighter for the Midlands Parks Department. I've been working there for about 8 years now.
How exactly did you become a firefighter?
My dad was a firefighter, and honestly, growing up, I just wanted to be like him. But then I started working at the fire station and realized that I was the only girl, and every other guy had about 70 pounds on me. My dad used to always joke that even though I wasn't twice as big as the other guys, I was twice as brave. Yeah, a cheesy line, but it helped.
Is that a bit?
It was supposed to be half as big, twice as brave. I messed that up.
What did you say?
I said twice as big, twice as brave. That's not what I was supposed to say.
Well, we all got the point.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Thanks.
Miss Silva, do you know why you're here in court today?
I do. About a year and a half ago, my unit responded to a fire at a local bar.
Bennett, did you match your co-counsel on purpose there?
Did we ever? Absolutely.
I called that out. It was fly.
We have pink day and red and blue day, and this was pink day.
Got it.
Wait.
Yeah, no, we match our suits.
Sarah, we don't match at all. We're like
Not
purple,
at all.
blue, green. Like,
We just started doing it, and like
we
teams
look like
noticed.
a bruise.
Yeah.
No,
it's
but
like,
that's fly. Like I wish we did that. I really do.
it's like when you have Fatima on your team who has like the coolest, most colorful suits, you just have to do it. Like
Yeah.
I can't be sitting next to her in a pink suit wearing a green tie. Like I just got to go along with what she's doing.
Well, now I feel bad, but okay.
I was one of the firefighters that responded to it, and I went in with my partner, Jalen Williams. Jalen didn't make it out. So I'm here to talk about that.
What's on your socks, Bennett?
This is a lot of questions on my clothes. It is like little checkered patterns. It's like, yeah, those are my lucky mock trial socks.
It looks like it's like an object, not like a
Like
pattern.
garden gnomes.
Right.
No,
Yes. Right.
No, I can literally show you them right now if you need it. It's just square. It's not interesting.
So colorful.
How long had you and Mr. Williams been partners for?
5 years, right when I started at the station back in 2016. Going through the training to be a firefighter was the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life. I didn't think I had it in me, but Jalen, he pushed me through it. He was my best friend.
I want to talk about someone else in today's case. Do you know the defendant, Dakota Sutcliffe?
Yes, I do.
How do you know the defendant?
I met Dakota when I started working at the fire station. She was working there too. And I also know that she owns the bar that ended up burning down, Chuggy's.
Ms. Silva, do you see the defendant in court today?
I do. She's the woman on the edge of that table wearing the polka dot dress, black shoes.
Your Honor, let the record reflect that Ms. Silva has correctly identified the defendant. Ma'am, you said that the defendant owned a bar named Chuggy's. I want to talk a little bit more about that. Do you know when the defendant bought that bar?
I think it was the fall of 2019.
Do you know if the defendant changed that bar at all once she bought
Completely. I had been to Chuggy's before, and it was your typical college dive bar. Gross, honestly. Dakota came in. She told me about.
Yeah, that was harsh about Chuggy's.
Yeah. You know, just trying to give a little imagery here. I don't know. My directs tend to be very long because I like to instead of saying she changed it, I want to say how. So I'm gonna say it's a gross college dive bar, and then I'm gonna say that she put new pool tables in. I don't know.
Who wrote this?
I wrote this direct with Cole.
Isn't this the direct where, did you guys hear this? Where Carson called Chuggy's a porta potty, or said it looked like a porta potty on his direct? Was that this round?
I think so. I think
yeah, that sounds
a lot of just
right about Carson.
roasting Chuggy's this round.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the difficulties with this section of what's happening, right? This is airing after orcs, right? We don't have to protect our case.
Yes,
theory.
orcs have happened by the time this is up.
So one of the difficulties is our case doesn't really focus on motive. We wanted to call the fire expert. We didn't want to call the detective or Tobin Johnson OP. So we don't have a lot about motive in here. And so one of the purposes of this witness, and the reason she's talking about Chuggy's and all that, is because we just want to sort of get in that there was a renovations and a $1 million loan, just to sort of put that in the jury's mind, so we can talk about the insurance policy later on the fire expert. And so,
yeah, sorry, Bennett, go
no,
ahead.
No. Say what you're gonna say.
I was just gonna say, we obviously, you try to make your directs foolproof, in terms of objections. So the whole thing about were the renovations completed, were they not completed? We were doing it in the span of I went to Jugs's before, it was gross. Talked to Dakota, she told me that she had these renovations. I went after, and it looked totally different. So there's there's no how did you know for sure? Just all basing it within, what I saw before and after changes had been done.
One of the things. Oh, sorry, Sarah.
I was just going to say, I think I only made one objection to this whole direct, and it was kind of silly and small, just because I wanted to break it up a tiny bit.
Yeah.
One of the things Brett and Cole are great at as a writing pair this year, I think you guys have been a writing pair for a couple tournaments now, is I think in the last couple of years, teams have made a lot more foundation objections. I think that's a more popular thing, is just a lot of little tacky foundation objections that are fine, if they're going to say this, just say how they know it over and over again. And this, they're really good at just laying all the foundation, so we don't get that stuff. I think maybe one gets made later, but I
was going to say my objection was a lack of foundation objection.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
The thing about Silva is it is totally this build and story. So you do not want to get an objection at a bad part. There was a point during regionals where I had my like all peak pinnacle cry moment, and the
It was a narrative. You got a narrative.
prosecutor's attorney objected to narrative. Like I'm in full tears, and he's like, objection narrative. And, I was
And then
like,
you
I
cried
was like-
harder because that's a high school.
no, the judge sustained it. It was awful.
Can you make that objection in college?
I
Yeah,
don't
we've
even-
heard
Oh.
people or at our
To be
our
petty, we
major
did it
one.
back to them. Like they started doing their stuff, and we were like narrative, and then the judge sustained it.
I mean, it's not
What
as
I-
great as the pinnacle, like greatest objection, compound question objection. We've made that our new favorite objection, compound question
Right.
objections. We made so many.
Don't talk about compound.
originals.
I think the procedural
But it's up there. It's
ones-
up there.
The procedural ones, while being like absolutely stupid, do get short shrift. Like sometimes they work. And like when you see a judge sustain a narrative objection or a compound objection, that's your cue to make a million narrative and compound
I
objections.
have
Or
no idea
on
what you mean when you say
cross.
it's stupid. They're the great compound question objections are the greatest objections of all time.
No, if I saw a judge sustain a narrative objection, the next thing I would do is start objecting non-responsive to my
Yeah.
own witnesses on cross immediately.
Yeah.
If they say anything beyond yes, they go
Right.
objection non-responsive.
Yeah.
That's smart. That's smart because you know the judge is like not has no time for witnesses' answers.
Yep.
Bennett, something you said a minute ago made me think of another thing I wanted to ask you for. You mentioned about the timing of the episode. How much once the regional assignments come out, and especially geographically, especially when we're in person, you know that there's no way, for example, that you and Emory are going to be at the same org. It's unlikely, at least. How much do you go ahead?
So this year was bizarre because like it was always there was a like sort of the specter of doing orcs online was
Right.
always hanging around in the air. So we were never too sure. We're never going to be at Emory's orcs because the South is strong enough that they're not going to ever send a Northeast team down there, like ever. So that's never a concern. But we knew by this point, because it comes out generally the week of Thanksgiving, like the Thanksgiving, I think, the last couple of years. We know that where we're going. And so this year we knew we were going to, I think they had us at Geneva, which became DeKalb, which is in Illinois. So we knew there was no chance it was going to be Emory.
I will confess that I'm not entirely sure what the rule is on this, so feel free to respond that the rules prohibit us from doing that. But how much are you guys talking to each other once the invitational season is over and we're prepping for regionals and orcs when you know you're not going to be in the same region about strategy and ideas and bouncing ideas off of each other? I would imagine that your programs are really great resources for each other in that respect.
I mean, yeah, Tufts is a great resource for us.
I think
Excellent resource for us.
Take that as a resounding yes.
I feel like Bennett, you probably have more contact.
Yeah,
with
go ahead, Bennett.
Yeah.
Riya. Take this away.
you guys.
I think there's a little bit. I think there are certainly like people I'll bounce ideas because we don't have coaches. So like if I want an outside opinion, I have to go to another program, right? So I think certainly like I'll ask for advice on a piece of content from someone who I know isn't going to orcs. The big time that never happens is nationals. No one is talking
Right,
about any
obviously.
nationals.
Yeah.
It's like, no, walls go up. But orcs, yeah, like I've definitely asked Riya questions about stuff.
Are there people?
Yeah, same vice versa. Like I think especially since we're both student run, like when you are student run, like there's not many places you can turn to. So oftentimes like we end up turning to each other when we do have questions. And like, yeah, like I think I've definitely asked Bennett to like look over some of my stuff if I have questions about, you know, whether or not something sounds good. Cause I mean, it's really useful to like be able to use each other as those resources when you don't have coaches.
All these renovations that she had planned. I ended up going back to Chuggy's a few months later after work one night, and there were pool tables, new seating. I mean, Chuggy's looked great.
Do you know how the defendant planned to pay for those renovations?
She told me that she was taking a loan out from the bank. It was for $1 million.
Ms. Silva, I want to talk about the night of the fire, July 31st, 2020. Were you and the defendant on duty at the station that night?
I was on duty, and Dakota was supposed to be. But the first time I saw her was hours after I had gotten there first. It was, I just had never seen Dakota come late.
Objection, Your Honor. Lack personal knowledge.
There it is.
Yeah.
We have since cut out the late part.
Wait, well, also supposed to be. We have to change that tonight, Brett. We have to take supposed to be.
Supposed to be.
Yeah, from the Harvard
Okay, I
study.
get, yeah.
Well, did you guys think that was a valid objection?
Yes. I make
Yeah.
it on the Silva Cross.
Oh, you do?
Because the whole thing is like it's a like late thing to like lack of foundation or whatever really you want to say. And then if you get them to lay the foundation of how they know it, it has to be something coming from hearsay. So like a commander said it, a schedule said it, something. So then you're kind of like, I don't know, if the judge sustains it, you're kind of trapping them into something that they can't even do. And then it gets like messier.
Or to being impeached on cross.
Or
someone
to
said
being-
I saw a schedule on the wall, I'd be like,
Yep.
Also, there, like, someone said this to me at some point, like a couple years ago, and I've never forgotten it. Judges, like, as a rule, just don't like to sustain objections because they don't want to, like, take people, like, screw up people's case. The one objection judges, like, sustain all the time is foundation objections because it's so easy. Yeah, one more question, counsel. Just like a little foundation. So you can get easy wins on foundation objections. So anytime you can get, like, a little one like that, just say how he knows he's late. Say how he knows he was supposed to be there.
We're gonna have to cut that. We're gonna have to cut that out, Bennett. We don't want anyone else to know that secret. Come on, keep that to yourself.
No,
Yeah, I think
I don't care.
I think you're right. I think I one of you said earlier, like, whatever's the best objection. I think foundation is by far the best objection because it judges. It's a split. Everyone wins. Split the baby. You can still have your thing, but and your objection is great. So sustain, but like ask the question. But and this is particularly true in law school because one of the big differences in law school is a lot of the big competitions are live witnesses, so they're not people on the team. So what happens, unlike a college tournament where like you know what needs to happen, you know where you're going, the live witness on the stand has no idea what's happening. They're just some random person off the street, and that can really derail things. So on day one of like boot camp for our new students, one of the first things I say is the best objection is foundation, the worst objection is relevance, and don't make them. Don't make relevance objections.
Oh, I feel validated. Thank you, everybody.
There you go.
Now, this witness just testified that Ms. Sutcliffe was late for her shift on the night of July 31st of 2020. We actually don't know how this witness has any knowledge of exactly what time Ms. Sutcliffe was scheduled to start her shift. She could have started at a different.
Bennett, what are you writing?
Take out late from direct.
There's no way that's the first time you got that objection.
Yeah, you've made that one for like I feel like we've heard other people make that even before you started making it, Sarah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
You
don't call Silva, so.
Oh wait, no, we went P that round.
Yeah.
Time for that shift. We just don't have any foundation here that gives this witness the rationally based perceptions to make a statement like that about her tardiness.
Yes, Your Honor. This witness testified that she's worked with the defendant for a number of years.
So
she would know
good.
if the defendant was late. And Your Honor, may I make an offer of proof?
Sure.
Your Honor, the next question I'm about to ask is exactly when the defendant arrived. I believe this witness is going to testify that it was after midnight. Therefore, it wasn't even on the night of July 31st. It was going into August 1st. Therefore, it was a different day, and this witness can certainly testify based off of that the defendant was late.
Sure, go ahead.
Yes, Your Honor. Now, whether Ms. Sutcliffe was scheduled to begin right at midnight on July 31st of 2020 or at a different time, this witness is not her supervisor at work. She wouldn't necessarily know what her work schedule is, which can change even if she's worked with her for a number of years. We'd still like some more foundation to be laid for that statement to be on the record.
Okay, well, based on the offer of proof, it sounds like we're going to get some foundation. So how about we get the foundation first, and then we can get back to this if you feel you should. So
Yes, Your Honor.
Staying for now.
I call that a win for you, Sarah.
Yeah.
I mean, he said that I thought I lost, and then he just said sustained, and I was like, seems
You
legit. Like, I don't know.
I guess we'll see. I mean, you should object again. You cannot say late. Like, I feel like that
I did re-object, and then he overruled
Yeah.
it because Cole said wait, not admissibility.
Let's go.
To the
Favorite
station
response.
Magic words.
Well, it wasn't July 31st. It was a little bit after midnight, so August 1st. It was
There's so much emphasis on it not
Meanwhile-
being July 31st.
Yeah.
Just wait
Yeah,
till the timeline.
and this whole thing about it being August 1st and not July 31st that Sarah forced us to do ends up really biting us in a second, which you'll see.
Your Honor, at this point, we ask the record reflect that I'm removing a part of the timeline.
There it is.
The witness's testimony that Ms. Silva
my
saw the defendant walk into the Midland Center fire.
So wait, Phil, it's blurry, but just to be clear, it says evening of July 31st.
Right.
On there.
This turns into like a semantics battle real fast.
Yeah, no, it really gets petty in a second.
Okay, any objections to that?
No objections, Your Honor, as long as there's no specific.
There was.
times or-
It says
Like,
evening of July 31st.
Because in my head, I was like,
Were you
July
debating like, am
31st.
I gonna cross on
Wait.
this in that moment?
No, Nat pointed it out. The judge pointed it out.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
you
judge-
did?
Yeah.
He asked if I had objections to them to me showing or to y'all showing the
No, 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 but
timeline,
while
and I
we were
looked
just
at it and I was
talking-
like, the meme of the woman with the math around her head. And I was like, no.
But Nat says, wait, it says the 31st.
Yeah, he's like, okay, wait a minute. It says July 31st.
Did he really say that? I did not hear it. Oh my God, that's
No
really
objections,
funny.
Your Honor,
Okay.
as long as there's no specific times or.
It says evening of July 31st.
Ooh.
Is the midnight thing?
No, Your Honor, we're fine with that.
Midnight
The
thing.
midnight thing.
Now, Ms. Silva, after you saw the defendant walk into that fire station, did you notice anything unusual about her?
Well, for one thing, she was late.
Objection, Your Honor.
Why did I say that? Why did I say that?
I reread.
Any further foundation has been laid as to how this witness specifically knows her schedule, what time she was supposed to arrive, what time she had to be there.
May I respond, Your Honor?
Yeah, and no need to apologize when you object. Yeah, go ahead.
Your Honor, at this point, Ms. DeLacey's objection goes to weight and not admissibility. We've laid foundation. She can cross-examine as to whether or not Ms. Silva had the adequate knowledge to know exactly when Ms. Sutcliffe was supposed to be there.
Overruled.
It's just the best response.
So, Ms. Silva, did you notice anything unusual about the defendant?
Yeah, so she came in late, and then when she was walking past me, I smelled chemicals. I don't know if it was her clothes, maybe it was her hair. I don't know.
You said that you smelled chemicals. Do you know what kind of chemical it was?
It was strong. Gasoline. I don't know. It was different, and I don't know exactly what it was, but it was just this overwhelming chemical smell, and it was definitely coming from Dakota.
Ms.
Okay, I
Silva,
have a
did
question
that
here.
overwhelm?
Your open. I went back and rewatched the open actually after I watched this because I was like, oh my God, like what are we gonna see of me
You
in this
lied.
round? And you don't say that she smells like paint thinner.
You
And
lied,
but in your
yeah.
open, you say Alex Silva will tell you how she smells like paint thinner. So I was just wondering, like, is that something that like you guys were like, did you cut that or like
Sure.
when? Yeah.
For two reasons we don't say paint thinner. One, a foundation objection. I feel like a lay person would be able to say, I know what gasoline smells like, whatever. Paint thinner is like very specific, and I think that definitely warrants an objection. Like just, oh, we have no problem that they say paint thinner. Just like, how do they know that they've come into contact with paint thinner? Like, we just want more foundation about that. Second, it's like I'm all about like the naturalness. So like, it's like very weird to kind of be like, it smells like paint thinner. Like, okay, it's a little too on the nose for me. And like other witnesses say chemicals, like we know she was dealing with paint thinner. Like you can connect the dots. So I think for those two reasons, that's just why we don't.
I totally agree. But I've also found when Silvas are being directed, almost all of them say that paint thinner point. I continuously object to it. And yet half the judges, most of whom are above age like 35, I would say, are like, everyone knows what paint thinner smells like. No, overruled. And I'm like,
to know.
I've never even seen paint thinner. Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
but a lot of people have, I guess.
Our big thing, especially with Brett's witness, which is about build, like the whole thing hinges on the build, is don't get interrupted. Like facts do not matter. Like at the collegiate level, when it's 6-on-6, it's a presentation. You don't want to get interrupted on the sad witness.
Yep.
And it doesn't, who cares if it's paint thinner or chemicals? I'm gonna lie in my closing and say it was paint thinner anyway. So like, who cares? Like,
Yeah, I am confident that I could not pick paint thinner out of a lineup. Like what even is paint thinner?
I think there's like nail polish remover. Like that's the best thing I can
It's
compare
like
it to in my
turpentine.
head.
What
Like,
does
have
it
you
do?
smelled turpentine regularly?
It's like it's literally like to thin paint.
What do you want?
Like I've also never seen it or smelled it. Actually, it's not true. I smelled it once because someone was doing like painting in my apartment building, and so I saw it then.
I feel like you can't. I mean, I don't know. Like, can you distinguish between paint and paint thinner?
Yeah, is paint too thick? When is this? Is paint too thick?
I've never used it. I don't know. I think that's
really Dakota's paint is way too thick. Like she needs it.
True. True.
A lot of it.
These cases are very, very educational.
Yeah, like who can't? I don't know.
I mean, chemical smell ever go away?
Yeah. Dakota went to her locker, changed out of the clothes that she'd come in with, put on her uniform. That's when the smell went away.
What happened after that?
After that, we were all ready to head out. Dakota got into the truck with Jalen and I. We got our equipment together and started driving the Chuggies. That's when I found out that I would be going into fight the fire and Jalen would be going with me.
Your Honor, we're indicating on the timeline that Ms. Silva and the defendant responded to the fire at Chuggies Bar.
Any objections to that?
There you go.
Ms. Silva, what happened when you and Mr. Williams got to that bar?
Okay, now comes the good part.
Jalen broke down the back door first, and we both went inside. The smoke was heavy, it was dark, so we had to move quickly. We decided to check the downstairs first to make sure that no one was still there.
Did you find anyone downstairs?
No. The downstairs was fine. It was when we went upstairs that it wasn't fine anymore.
Ma'am, I know this is hard, but what happened after that?
We got back up to the top of the stairs, and when I turned back, Jalen was still there. He gave me a big thumbs up, so I kept on walking. It couldn't have been more than a few seconds later, and I heard this crash, and when I turned back around, Jalen wasn't there anymore.
Did you find him?
Well, I ran back to the kitchen to look for him so we could run out together, and the walls had collapsed. I saw a red piece of plastic. It was his helmet.
I love your choice there, Brett. Like with instead of like getting more sad on the helmet, you like held it together and said it like in a holding it together voice.
I think the most, I went to a performing arts high school, and like the biggest, and I was by no means like an actor, like those people are on Broadway. Like I did not choose to do that with my life. But the biggest thing that I learned there was that the most effective emotional people are the people that are not displaying it, but holding it in. So like, if you are really sad and really trying to like, and really want to cry, you're not gonna want to cry. Like if you're in this position, like in a courtroom, especially, like you don't want to be, in tears sobbing. Like you want to hold that in, even if you are feeling that. So like every single witness I do, like it's to the point where I want to, start sobbing. And like my first run ever, I remember at Cubate, like I did literally uncontrollably was sobbing. And like, I thought it was amazing watching it back. It was like, this girl is literally like having an episode. Like she is like Remy Hill, like, or no, was it Remy? Remy crossed me for the first time, and it was like she couldn't even, like I was literally like, it was not okay. So ever since then, it's like, okay, you err on the side of like you have all that emotion, but you're keeping it within. So that's why I make those choices.
Been like this was the first time we had seen, so we had hit Tufts earlier that year, and Brett was timekeeping. Yeah. So we didn't see her go as a witness. Like one of the first things we said when we came out of this round was like, damn, like that was one of the greatest sadness we've seen ever. Like she was so excellent. And it wasn't even like, we're watching it now like on a screen, but I can't even tell you, like when we were watching it in the room, it hits different. Like I don't even know how to express like our reactions, like when Sarah and like Danielle and I were just like sitting at council table, like knowing that like Sarah was gonna have to go up and cross Brett, like Like Sarah's like incredible, but like we were thinking like this is one of the best witnesses we've seen all year.
Yeah.
Like she was
No,
absolutely
I'm-
phenomenal. I was tearing up. Like it was really
Totally.
good.
And I'm just the least aggressive out of us three. We are all ridiculously
Oh, yeah.
aggressive attorneys if you ever go against us. Like we regularly get that comment, that like women tend to get, like tone it down. But I was just like the least of the three. So it is rough having to cross the sad witness. Like it's hard to do. And yeah, I was shaking in my boots at this point.
When at least when I think about like how you win rounds and like in high level matchups, how you differentiate yourself from other teams, having Brett is just a massive advantage. Like we know in any round our said witness is going to be better than the other team's said witness, or in this case, which is weird, where it's like generally when you call the said witness, they don't have anybody being said on the other side. That's just something the plaintiff has that the prosecution has, the defense doesn't. Like it is a huge advantage.
Thank you all. This is ego boosting.
So Brett, I got to see you. You were an attorney in the round that I presided over, right?
I think so. Yeah, attorney and witness.
All right. So I have two questions about that. The first is, how good of a judge was I?
Amazing. The best, obviously.
Yeah. Great. Next
Good take.
question. What do you like better?
So I have always had a difficult relationship with attorneying just because like I've said this, but like I'm really hard on myself. So I'm scared even being given like a big position. Like I turned down closing like my freshman and sophomore year just because I was literally too scared of like messing up and didn't have the confidence in myself. Last year, Bennett approached me and asked me to attorney on A. I declined. I didn't think I was ready. Now I'm a senior and he asked me to attorney on A, and I was like, okay, like I think I'm ready to put in the work and do it. I think I have a lot of ways to go. More of it's just presentational. Like I talk fast. I just need to kind of slow down. Definitely when I'm in my groove and I know my stuff, I love attorneying. I think it's a balance. I think it definitely depends like what cross I'm doing. And yeah, just like generally the round silver crosses aren't that brutal anyway. So it's just kind of give and take. Both have pros and cons. I don't know if I have a favorite.
The last thing I'll say before we get back into the video is one of the things, and this is like so like cliche, like everyone says this, but like the thing that I hate about EMTA right now is the way even the good teams attorneys sound. And it's just not good. And
Yeah.
and for some reason, and I don't know how we fix this, but the judges, I think, have been programmed to some degree to like believe that if you're doing that voice, you are good. The thing that I like about both of these teams, and I haven't seen Emory's full team, but I've now seen, I think, almost everyone on Tufts bench. I was really surprised when I presided over your scrimmage and when I watched this round, how deep your bench is. And I was really surprised by how not even close to the EMTA voice your attorneys have, like not even close. You know, I'm a big Margaret fan. I've said that. I'm on the record with that. I think I texted you after the round and I said, I thought Brett was fantastic. Like, it's really shocking that you guys are both teams are such good teams and none of your competitors do that. Have you guys made it a point to say to your attorneys, like, don't do that?
Yes.
Especially with me, Margaret, and Cole. Like, it makes me so happy you say that. I'm sure it will make Margaret happy to hear you say that. Because like me, Margaret, and Cole have this problem of falling into this voice. And like we have worked really hard to not do that anymore. Because it's not how people talk. Like nobody speaks like that.
Yeah, we definitely, I don't know if it's the tone so much as the sounding scripted is what we like to call it. And I think that like the EMTA voice sort of goes hand in hand with sounding so memorized, so prepared, but just so like one note, boring, like they're never going to mess up, but they're never going to take a risk, if that makes sense. Like you just know that person is not going to be dynamic and entertaining to watch. So we really try to watch staying scripted and like give everybody like permission to just like trust your gut, adapt as you will in the round. We'll talk about how it went afterwards, sort of.
Yeah. I don't even have a problem with like being, I mean, obviously it's better to be adaptable, like obviously. But there are some teams and some new competitors who aren't good enough to do that yet. And that's a skill you develop over time. I think from a more basic level, setting aside whether you're a risk taker, adaptable, can react in round, it's literally just the voice that bugs me.
It's like
That's true.
going
I
off
think
of
to
it's
some
not even
extent,
like one note. So it's just like the it's one note, but like the intonation is planned. It's like
Yes.
it'll go up on
Yes.
like today's case, and it'll be like
Yes.
this valley, and it's just the same. It's the same rhythm every single question, and it's annoying. Like it's really annoying.
It's like,
And
I
the
want to
air
tell you a
motion.
story about the last name. Like it's like that.
Yeah.
It drives me crazy. And the thing I was thinking about is like, if you were on a real jury and someone like was giving an opening like that, it would be over. Like
Yeah.
I called it around. The trial would be over. Like you would lose. So I don't know how we get past that. I think if you look at the people who have done well, it's largely people who don't do that. But the thing that's alarming to me is some of the people who have done well do the voice, which is
like over the last 5 years, like probably more of the like really top competitors, probably more of them do the voice than don't.
I think it's really like, I think you have to stop yourself. Like, I don't know how, like I used to do it really, really bad. Like when I was a freshman and like when Sarah and I have been competing together for a very long time, like on teams together. I don't think Sarah, you ever really had it that bad. Like, I really don't. Like, I think you sound like more natural now than you did your freshman year, but you were the one person on our team who I think like you never fell into the trap of like having like the fake voice. I was really bad. Like I sound like a cartoon character my freshman year. Like I was so bad about that. I think that you have to train yourself out of it. And to train yourself out of it, you have to realize that you have to have like a mental shift that it's not actually a good thing. Like I think some people think that that's what's getting them the points. And then when you get to the point where like people are afraid to just sound like themselves and talk like themselves, because I think they think that makes them sound less professional when it doesn't. Like, I think that's a big, like, I think people use it as a crutch.
I was just gonna say, you hear it all the time. I'll just say this quickly about judges being like, instead of saying like, may I reposition myself, just say move. Like, can I display this demonstrative? Like judges, like we get that comment a lot. Like, just say it in English. Like, why are you speaking like that?
Or may I retrieve my exhibit? Like,
yeah, like, can I get that? Like, you know.
I saw a red piece of plastic. It was his helmet.
So good.
So pause it real quick. When we talk about wanting these directs to not get interrupted, that's the feeling we're trying to prevent, right? Like we're talking about something else and then it goes right back in. It's the most disconcerting thing ever. I just wanted to point out how weird that is, and that's why you never want the directs to get interrupted.
I know that there was nothing I could do, but I should have been there. I should have been with him, and I would have known if he was hurt or if he called out and he needed me. I wasn't there.
Miss Silva, after you left the bar that night, did you see the defendant?
Yeah, we got outside and I saw Dakota. She was crying too, but I don't know, she just had this expression, this look on her face, and she just started to lose it. She was slamming her hands against the ambulance, shouting.
Well, what exactly did she say?
She said, this wasn't supposed to happen. I never meant for this to happen. It was all planned out.
Thank you, Miss Silva. Thank you, Your Honor. I have nothing further. Okay. Do you want me to leave this up?
It's a great direct. How did you guys feel both sides after that direct?
Personally, for me, like it wasn't. I've had rounds where I've come out of the Silva being like, yeah, I've crushed that. That round, I don't remember feeling that way. I don't think I did badly by any means, but it wasn't like my like crush it round. Just because you with emotion, like you can't. You try to make it as best as you can every time, but it's gonna be different every time. Like you can't script, where you cry. If you're not going to cry, then don't try to cry. Like the worst thing is when you see someone being like they're trying to, it's like, if it's not natural, don't do it. I felt pretty good about it. In hindsight, definitely the late stuff, the objectionable stuff. We should have taken it out ahead of time, but overall, I think it was pretty solid.
Yeah, I was happy too, like just watching that because we love Tufts and like we love that team. Like there's sort of a weird little sense of pride, like seeing you guys doing well, and especially seeing Cole. Like he's not here right now, but he was the attorney, and like obviously Brett is amazing and she's a senior. Cole is a freshman. I remember seeing Cole for the first time on Tufts unstacked team in Gampty and just being blown away. He did the open, I think, in that round, and he was just incredible. And I was like, wow, what a score for Tufts. He has 4 more years of mock trial, and like I don't even want to know what he's gonna be like when he's a senior. So
my guess is he's probably like at least one of the top 50 lawyers right now, or like at least top 100.
Cole is one of those people that like get up. I don't have to worry about him. Objections, direct, cross. I'm literally never worried when he stands up to do something. I'm like always excited.
He also he never shows fear. Like sometimes before a round, I'm like freaking out. Cole's just like, he's standing there. He's good. He's ready.
He knows his stuff. Like he just knows it.
So the next thing we're going to watch is Riya's cross of the arson investigator. Am I right about that? Is that who the witness was? Riya, you made a face. Tell us why.
This was not the best cross.
Did you voir dire?
This
Riya?
was like
yeah.
I was like on steroids, or like, but not the like in a bad way. Like it was just, I was like running around like a mad woman. Like it just was not my best. Like it was not a great cross.
But it was fun. It
was fun.
Well, I'm glad it was fun for you. It was not fun for me.
And it's gonna be fun to watch.
Yeah, Alexander's also like obviously a phenomenal witness, and so I was not looking forward to like doing the cross, like having to cross him in the first place. But then the cross itself was like a very difficult one.
And sir, I'm gonna go ahead and walk through your investigation step by step. You made 3, you said that there's 3 steps to your investigation just now, right?
Yes.
First, you look for accelerants.
I know, we examined the fire patterns first.
And in that process, you look for accelerants in the burn patterns, right?
Yeah, we look for accelerants.
You look for an ignition source.
Yes.
And you also try to identify a suspect if you can, right?
Yes.
So let's go ahead and take each of those one by one. We'll start with looking for those accelerants, because you said that you found paint thinner in multiple areas of this bar, right?
Yes.
Sir, you'd agree that paint thinner, it can be used for a lot more than just starting fires, right?
Yes, oftentimes it is.
That's right, sir. For one thing, paint thinner can be used to thin paint, right?
That's what I use it for.
Now, sir, you'd agree with me.
There's no way that guy thins paint. There's no way anyone thins paint.
No, that guy thins paint.
The bar was being renovated before this fire, right?
I'm not sure. That's what the dispatcher told me on the call, but I can't say for sure.
So, sir, you were informed that the renovations were occurring before the fire, right?
Yeah, Maggie, the county dispatcher, told me that. Yeah.
Let's talk about why you might not actually be sure if they were happening. Because, sir, you never actually asked anyone if the renovations were happening at the bar, right?
No. Oh, my goodness. Excuse me. No.
So, sir,
Did he cough? What was that?
That was a clever way of slowing Riya down, I feel like, low-key.
Sometimes Alexander will like I don't know, like he always has like very unfortunate like hiccups or like stutters, and they happen like during the cross, and I don't know. That was
I have to admit, I watched this specific 10-second clip back like 6 or 7 times trying to figure out what happened. That like I thought it was a burp at first, but I don't think we'll watch it again. I don't know what he did.
let's talk about why you might not actually be sure if they were happening. Because, sir, you never actually asked anyone if the renovations were happening at the bar, right?
No. Oh, my goodness. Excuse me. No.
So, sir, certainly, you don't know what kind of processes those renovations involved, right?
I don't even know if they exist. No.
Sir, you don't know if they were painting the bar during those renovations.
I don't know.
You don't know if those renovations involved paint thinner.
I don't know.
Because, like you just said, you don't even know if they existed.
Right.
Because you never tried to find out.
No, I did not.
Now, sir, let's talk about that second part of your investigation. You said that you
Riya,
looked
one
for
of the
ignition
things
source. Now, you said
one of the things that I
think is really good about you on cross, specifically what you're doing right now, is the pacing. Like, he's really good. He almost never will get sped up by the
You
attorney.
like the
But, like,
pacing? I thought I was going way
yeah.
too fast.
I mean, you're going to you like a little too fast probably, but like the way you're being the witness, right? Like the way, yes, right? Like even when he's trying to do longer yeses, it's still coming right on the heels of your question. Is just like something a lot of people can't do, and more people should try to do.
Truthfully,
Yeah.
I think it's because I forgot my cross and I didn't want the judge to be able to tell. Like, I was not memorized like I should have been. The questions were coming out like free form. I don't know what that was.
I think for Alexander, like at least the last question, like did you ever try to find out? I feel like if you weren't doing that pacing, he would have said, no, of course I tried to find out. Like, I got conflicting testimony. Like he would, but you were not even, like, he just agreed. Like you didn't even give him that chance to like,
I think that
just
like
flat out say no.
Yeah, one thing that was really tough about crossing Alexander in particular is like I play Weber on the other side. And so I think because of that, I'm biased towards, like, not biased, but I expect a certain type of answer because I expect the answer that I would give because I'm so used to giving that answer. So it's just, like when I hear a different Weber with a different style that I'm not used to, and he was like sort of more agreeable on those sections, it like caught me off guard almost, I think. And so I'm glad it seemed like it went well because like I was just trying to like keep pace, like just like keep the cross going, but it was difficult to cross him because he was very different than I had never crossed a Weber like him before who gave the type of answers that he had given. So it was difficult to like adapt to that. Like a lot of these pockets were improvised.
That ignition source were 2 lighters that you found in the bar, right?
Yep,
You recognize the photo of those lighters if I show them to you now, right?
absolutely.
Approaching Mr. Demsky with Exhibit 11.
Oh no.
Would you like a copy or
This is where the big mistake is.
Sure, yeah, that's helpful.
Approaching Mr. Demsky. That's interesting.
Thank you.
So these are the 2 lighters that you said were the ignition source in that bar, right?
Yeah, potential ignition source.
You said that you found them in the kitchen, right?
Yes.
Now, sir, you'd agree with me that if these 2 lighters were used to start a fire that night, someone probably would have had to hold them at some point, right?
That's true, yeah.
That's right, sir, but you never found any fingerprints on these lighters.
That's
No, I don't do fingerprint.
Yeah, that was a really weird answer.
That was really funny.
This like he just generally is just like the best, like at like cross and as an expert. Just like this was not like there were some funny answers in this one. Like this is not like we're still ironing some kinks out in some of the answers, but like I enjoy. I think as weird as that stuff like that is, like it was a strange question, right? Like it was like a mock trial-y kind of question, and like it's a human moment from the witness, and I think that stuff kind of helps. It's like, oh, it's not just a guy who's like doing his part. It's like, yeah, he got asked a strange question, he's going to give a strange answer.
Yeah.
Someone probably would have had to hold them at some point, right?
That's true, yeah.
That's right, sir, but you never found any fingerprints on these lighters.
No, I don't do fingerprinting. You'd have to ask the other offices.
So you have no idea there were any fingerprints on these lighters?
No.
No idea there was any DNA on these lighters?
Why? I bet there was, but I don't know. I can't tell you whose it was.
Hold on, sir. You're assuming that there was DNA on those lighters?
Yeah, people use lighters, so yeah.
But you have no idea who it belonged to?
Right.
You never tried to find out?
No, I don't know how to do fingerprint analysis. You'd have to ask the other offices.
Sir, those other officers that you mentioned, you never asked any of them?
No.
And that takes us to the third part of your investigation that you mentioned.
What was the mistake?
Oh, it wasn't there. It's actually a different part. I thought it was in that part because that was where I was supposed to, like, there's a point where like, normally when I do that pocket, I hold up the photos and I'm like, you took 17 photos in this case, right? Why? And then they'll do something. It's important to be thorough, whatever. Like, it's just like a flash moment. And then I use that in my close. I just forgot to ask the question there because, like I said, I wasn't very prepared.
But you have to say what the question is, Riya, what the missing picture is. This airs after org. So
yeah. It's right before so we run stove theory. Haha, shocker. Like many teams do. And our whole thing is like, there's no photos of the stove on D. And so there was a pocket I had in that cross where I do the lighter photo and it's supposed to segue into the stove. And then show the photos. And then I'm like, you took 17 photos in this case, right? Why? And then something about thorough. And then I asked, you didn't take a single photo of the stove, and it hits a lot harder because it comes right after, oh, it's important to be thorough and collect all the documents, etc. And then the not having the photo of the stove is nice. That didn't happen in this cross. I asked the why at the wrong, it's in the next pocket, I'm realizing.
But I feel like you did that because he responded in a way that no other Webbers do about the lighters. Like the point about, oh, there's fingerprints or maybe DNA. Most of them say,
I just forgot to ask it, honestly. I think I just forgot to ask.
No, like he was like, yes, there is DNA on it. I bet there is. I just don't know. And I didn't.
Yeah,
like,
that's
test
true.
it. That's
I added in
unusual.
like extra there.
Yeah, so you had to
That
follow
wasn't
up on that. I think that's what threw you off.
Identifying a suspect, because sir, you said that one of the things you do, if you can, is identify who might have started a fire, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, sir, well, let's talk about exactly how you did that. You mentioned a sweatshirt on direct examination, right?
Yes.
So that sweatshirt belonged to Miss Sutcliffe.
It was recovered in Ms. Sutcliffe's locker at the Midland Center Fire Department.
So that sweatshirt had a lot of paint thinner on it.
Tons of paint thinner on it.
Sir, you have no idea if she was wearing that sweatshirt during renovations at the bar.
No. No.
And sir, to be clear, the only person's clothing you tested was Miss Sutcliffe's.
Yes, that was the only clothing found in the locker.
Sir, you never tested clothing from any of the other employees at the bar, right?
No.
Why?
Why didn't I test the clothing?
Oh my God, what?
That's a great question. I didn't test
Why
the
did I
people's
do
clothing
that?
because they went to policy
He
holders
says,
on the fire
that's a
department.
great question. Let me
Certainly agree that It's
explain.
important to consider all possibilities in investigations like
Well, I didn't think it was that bad. I watched it. I was
It's
like,
not
oh,
bad.
cool.
It's
So,
just like,
no,
wow.
it was bad.
Like,
You should have heard his answer. Like his answer was like, oh, well, let me tell you why. No one else had a $1.5 million insurance policy on their bar. No one else was seen right outside the bar. It's supposed to burn down.
That was a little, I think he went a little too much there.
yeah, that's a tiny bit. That was just very unexpected to
The
hear your
placement of
why
that
there.
question was so poor in
Maybe-
so many reasons.
Maybe it would have been better with the photos, but I actually think it works there because when I watched this, I didn't know it was a mistake, obviously. So I thought it was planned.
Really? Oh, I'm glad.
And I didn't like his answer that was essentially in sum and substance. Well, my theory was that it was the defendant. So I didn't look at anybody else, which kind of plays into your theme.
Nice.
I agree. I think it was a little over
there. It
the
was a
top.
mistake. I knew it as soon as I said it. Like it was a mistake.
He actually, when you watch it back, he actually
Bad about
seems surprised. He actually seems kind of taken aback by the question. If you watch it back,
I think that's why I ask it, because 9 times out of 10, every time I've done it correctly, and it seems incorrectly too, it throws the witness off. And I do think that's difficult. Like as some, like I double eyewitness on the other side. I think it's really, really, when you throw a witness off their flow, that can be just as damning as like getting actually a good question out of them or whatever, because they practice responses to good questions, right? But to like random questions like this, it benefits you because there's no answer they could give that would like hurt you. Although I thought that the one that Alexander gave here did quite hurt me a little bit, but when it's done correctly, it's a calculated risk. And I think sometimes taking like calculated risks like that on a cross, because like Bennett said, it is a performance game. I think that can pay off in the long run. Little things like that can set you above and help you differentiate.
you never tested clothing from any of the other employees at the bar, right?
No.
Why?
Why didn't I test the clothing of the other employees at the bar? That's a great question. I didn't test the other people's clothing because they went to policyholders on the fire insurance.
Certainly agree that it's important to consider all possibilities in investigations like this one, right?
he like talked around it for 15 seconds because he didn't know what he was going to say. That was at least my perception. Maybe he knew what he was going to say the whole time. My perception was he was like, your question was, why didn't I test the other people's clothes? Well, let me tell you why. That's a great question. And like he was saying all that to buy himself some time to catch up. I thought his answer was fine, but I thought your point was made.
Absolutely, but only the reasonable ones. I'm not going to go around demanding people's clothes.
Sir, you didn't test a single other person's clothing, even though they could have come into contact with me at the bar.
It really was a funny answer.
Well, I don't think
I'm not
anybody
gonna go
else at the
around
bar was
demanding
going to have their
people's
clothes soaked in paint thinner. So again, no.
But sir, you never asked any employees if they came into contact with paint thinner at the bar, did you?
No, I did not.
And you didn't test their clothing either.
No, I did not.
All right, so let's talk about that other insurance policy that you mentioned. You still have a copy with you, don't you?
Let's see if we can find it here. There we go.
Now, you said that Miss Sutcliffe was the sole policy holder, right?
Yes.
And sir, when you read this policy, you think that means Miss
Context, like there
Sutcliffe would
was a
get one
big, like I had to voir dire this witness too. there was like, they talked about the insurance policy on the direct. And so I think I made some objection. I think I objected he wasn't familiar with the policy or something like that, which I don't know, whatever the objection was, it was a very lengthy one. And then I had to voir dire the witness on being like familiar with the policy or something like that. It got very in the weeds. And so this whole pocket was like kind of thrown in to get back at like the objection, to like bring back the objection. Cause I think after the voir dire, it was sort of like, it was open-ended as to whether or not the policy issue had been resolved. So I was trying to like deal with that.
$5 million if her bar burned down. Do I have that right?
Oh, no. She could potentially receive up to $1.5 million. That's right.
All right, sir. Well, do you see clause 7 on this policy?
Looks like the DA's printer was pretty bad, but yeah.
Sir, clause 7 says that if in any case the company shall be unable to reinstate or repair the property, apologies, sir, not clause 7, clause 6, the company may at its option reinstate or replace the property damaged or destroyed. The company. That's 5-point mutual insurance, right?
Yes.
So you know that if the bar was damaged, they could just decide to rebuild the bar.
Absolutely.
Objection, Your Honor.
So state, you can ask the witness to read the words in the policy, but there's consistency.
Yeah, I kind of had the same reaction, Sarah. I was like, what the? Like, literally, Bennett hadn't even stop speaking.
Bennett and I had like, we had
He interrupted your objection to sustain it. Like, wow.
Okay, so no, what had happened for context is that on direct examination, I had attempted to give the witness the policy, which is pre-admitted into evidence, and have him just like make a very basic opinion. This is an insurance policy. It is policyholder Sutcliffe. It's worth $1.5 million if renovations are done. Nothing. He was going to say how fire insurance works. It was not going to be anything elaborate. And Riya made this whole objection about how he doesn't have expert knowledge and yada yada. It was a smart objection. Like, I don't agree with the ruling, but it was a smart objection. And basically, the judge limited us to asking the witness to read portions of the policy verbatim, no analysis, only portions of the policy. So then Riya got up and tried to do the same thing. So I objected.
Yeah, it's like really gross after this because I had to like read like the really long clause and it was just like so bad.
Oh yeah, the reading of the clauses.
I should have just left it at the voir dire, but like I don't know. I was feeling extra this round.
He can't give an opinion on it.
Yes, Your Honor. This says that the company can decide to rebuild the bar, right?
Yep. They do it a lot more loyally, but I think that's in plain English. You're right.
Sir, you don't know if that clause was in effect when Ms. Sutcliffe signed this policy, do you?
What do you mean?
Sir, you don't know if the company was planning on rebuilding the bar if it burned down.
They could have, yeah.
But sir, you don't know for certain, do you?
Well, the claim got rejected eventually, so I mean, they didn't.
Sir, I'm just asking what you know. You don't know if the company planned to rebuild the bar after it burned down when Ms. Sutcliffe agreed to this policy.
No, I don't. No.
All right, so then let's talk about one other possibility that you consider, because you agree that you took a lot of photographs in this case, right?
Yeah.
Oh, me trying to go back to that.
Wow. Did you
We're
photographs of the kitchen,
Yes, I did.
of the bar area?
Yes,
Lots of areas of the bar, right?
I did. Yeah.
Sir, there's one photograph that you never actually took during your entire investigation, right?
I didn't take any selfies.
Well, sir,
That
I'm not
was
talking
so
about selfies.
good.
You agree that there was one thing in the kitchen you never photographed, and that was the stove, right?
No, I didn't photograph the stove.
I want to talk about why you might not have photographed the stove, because, sir, you'd agree with me that there was one area in that kitchen that was more damaged than the rest, right?
Yep.
That was the area right next to the stove.
Yeah, that's not where the stove was on that side.
Where did
It's
that
down by the
pen
black
come
dog.
from?
Ask Bennett for it before
Were
the
you
cross started.
holding that?
And there was a full exchange.
Oh
He was
my
like, "Do you want
God,
the
have you
red
been
one or do you
holding
want the
that?"
blue one?" I was like, I just want a marker.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't notice that either.
Sir,
Like
you
David
agree
Copperfield
that
over
the
there.
wall behind the stove was the most damaged area inside the entire bar, correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm marking that wall with a red pen.
Yep.
And I'm going to label it with MD for most damage.
Bennett not trusting Riya at all there, just leaning over the table, want to make sure she's actually writing those letters.
I wanted to see.
Red.
I can't believe you did this.
There he is.
And I'm going to label it with MD for
Permanent.
most damage.
Looks good.
And sir, the stove, that's this black dot?
No, the stove and oven were right next to the black dot.
All right, sir,
On
so,
the left, the way we're looking at it, I think.
so you'd agree that the stove was
This is why we
right
had to
next
change
to
our
the area
demo,
with the
Sarah.
most
So, fun
damage in the
story.
entire.
When we called Saeed, we had a map demo like this where we placed like the stove in a certain area of the kitchen, but it was on that like long wall, not on the short wall. So now there's like all this like weird, but Weber is the only person that can say for certain where the stove is. So at the mid-trial break, like right after this cross, or like after whenever their case in chief ended, where they requested for like a 5-minute recess, and we're like, can we actually take 15? We have like some issues with one of our demos. And then we ran outside in the hallway, ripped apart our demo, and re-super glued like all of our magnetized spots so we could put the stove in the area where Alexander said it was on cross. Because otherwise we're like, well, that's just like.
Why did you have it against the long wall, not the short wall?
Because a lot of people,
to be honest. Like,
there was a reason. It's because some people do the theory that paint thinner was being stored in the storage room along the short
we
wall.
thought about that before we put it there. I think we put it there, Sarah, because we thought that the wall with the most damage was that wall.
Yeah,
Like
I
the
don't
wall
really,
that Weber was referencing was the long wall and not the short wall, like the left wall, because when you're looking at it like this way, it's the left wall. But like when you're looking at it this way, it actually is the wall that you guys had it on. But yeah, we had to change it like in 15 minutes, like re-super gluing everything. And Saeed was our first witness.
It's hilarious. And you does
was never
extra right.
Tanner, I'm going to place a dot that says stove right next to most damage.
That's good.
No, sir, you certainly agree with me that.
What happened to the pen? You just dropped it?
Oh my God.
You like launched it. It was like a hard drop.
More than lunch.
Were you like holding 2 pens in your hand?
No, sir, you certainly agree with me that the fire actually started in the kitchen, right?
It literally looked like a magic trick. Like what was like? Where did the other? Seriously, was the other pen like in your sleeve?
No, like
and also
handed me them before the cross started, and I had like it was a big like I had to ask like, can you give me the red marker and the blue marker? And then he handed me and then I think I put it in my blazer pocket, and then I like pulled it out in the middle. I truly don't remember.
No, sir, you certainly agree with me that the fire actually started in the kitchen, right?
Yeah, definitely.
You'd agree that the origin point of this fire was right next to the stove.
That's right, black dot.
So you don't know if anyone was using the stove the night of the fire, do you?
I can't say for certain, no.
You don't know if anyone left it on to cook that night?
No, I don't, but there was no indication that the stove was the origin point. But I don't know, you're right.
Sir, you don't know if anyone ever turned it off before the fire.
No, I don't know that for sure.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
That is the exact way Riya ends every cross. Nothing further.
I thought that was a good
It's
cross.
so awesome.
I don't know why I do that.
Nothing further.
Riya,
Really do that after every single cross?
Every time. And it's like so good. It's like you've nailed them on something and you go, nothing further.
Riya, I guess maybe you thought that wasn't as clean as you would like. I thought it was really good still. I would have given it a high score. I think of all the top competitors, you are the most authentically yourself in the round. And I think that
For better or for worse sometimes.
I think for better. I think for better for all the reasons we talked about already. I think it probably makes sense that this was a split 2 points, 3 points. That probably checks out for a round like this.
It was a very close round. Like we had no idea that was definitely, when I look back on all the rounds that we've had this year, I think even like ever in my time in AMTA, I think that was definitely one of the closest rounds that I've ever experienced, where like the whole entire round, I had no idea who was at an advantage going through. And that's exactly how it was when we hit each other at GAMT as well. I think that's how it's been every
you
single
guys
time
were
I've
winning
played
at GAMT.
Well,
It's
I
hard
don't
to
know.
tell,
It didn't
man.
feel that way. It wasn't. GAMT was still a close round. Like it was like a single digit sweep on both ballots. Like it wasn't like there was no way of knowing. Like and plus, like we were not at our best at GAMT either. Like I think that.
Yeah.
I think
Your
that
freshmen are
every round-
scary. Your freshmen are terrifying. What are we
Freshmen
supposed
are
to
scary.
do?
We love
I
that.
think that every Tufts round we've had has always been like very, because it's very much like our styles are similar in a way where like it's like we're playing ourselves almost, because we have similar views on like, I think how we like to do mock trial, not exactly the same, but in terms of like, we feel like energy is really important and like dynamics are really important as opposed to other factors. So I think that whenever we play Tufts, it's sort of like a fire against fire kind of thing, which makes them rounds more fun, but also very close.
I mean, we had a round in regionals that was like, it was plus something crazy, like -1. It's like at the end of the day, especially when you're playing a close team, it's like you might have inclinations, but at the end of the day, judges really be crazy. Like you never know how it's actually gonna go.
Yeah, true.
I have a couple questions for you guys before I let you go proceed with your orcs preparation. First question, and I've asked similar questions in previous episodes. So before I ask the question, I'll give you the ground rules. The rules are you may not choose each other, meaning each other's schools. You may only pick 2 schools. You can't say any more or less than the number, like than 2 schools. And each time someone goes, the next person you can't repeat an answer. You can't repeat the same combination of 2. Okay. So I forget what the order was. I think it's Riya, Sara, Brett.
Wait, you can't say the same combination of 2, or you can't repeat a school period?
You can't say the same combination of 2.
Okay.
Who's going to be in the NCT final round?
No.
What? That's not fair that we can't
First.
pick Tufts, but fine.
Because then you're just going to be like Tufts and so, and then
Can I like
like
skip
Emory
my
and so and
turn?
so.
Can I go later?
No, Riya, you have to go first. It's the order.
Oh man.
sorry.
Okay. I'll say I said this at the beginning of the year, and I think I still feel like this could be like a really solid team for the final. Patrick Henry, I think, is very good. They've always been very good. They were super close last year. I think they will be very close if like I think that would be my pick. Like I think that team, I saw them in person at UGA in the fall. They were phenomenal. Like they were just really engaging. Like, and again, part of that is personal preference because of the kind of style of mock that I enjoy watching, but I thought that they were really fantastic. That's team 1. Team 2. Who have we seen, Sarah? Like the other team who I was really impressed by this year, I think was UMBC. I think that they are really, really fantastic this year. We hit them at Windy City also. And I think that they like, obviously like returning national champions, can't count them out again. I think that like, obviously like Sydney had a huge presence on that team. I worship the woman. She's fantastic. But the rest of that team is seriously good. Like they did excellent at their regionals. They went 8-0 at their regionals, I'm pretty sure. They were excellent in the round that we hit them against. And I have not seen a round since like this whole year. Every time I watch them, they have not been excellent. So I think that those would be my 2 picks, Patrick Henry and UMBC.
Yeah, I'm gonna second on Patrick Henry. I remember there was a point last year in NCT where it could have been Patrick Henry A versus Patrick Henry B.
It was close. It was really close. Yeah.
Absolutely. And like we've been to invitationals with them. They're just great. They're always great. Their witnesses are really what send them, I think, over the edge. Like too many people spend too little time like refining their witnesses. I think that's actually what's great about Tufts is y'all spend a lot of time differentiating and making your witnesses interesting and have a lot of emotional variation. And Patrick Henry does that. They also have amazing theories and like just come up with these ideas that are so out of the box that I think most people don't when they first read the case. The other team that I am going to have to go with, though, is, I know, but it is Yale, just because I know they're retaining a lot of their members. And I think it's very possible that they get back there, not only because they're still a talented team, but because they just always end up there in a way that I can't describe. Like, it's just a very safe bet, I would say.
Six straight finals. So that's definitely a safe bet. Brett, you're next.
Okay. So we can't. All right. I won't say Patrick Henry because you guys both said them. You also took UMBC, so thanks for that, Riya. I remember hitting UCLA last year, and like, was it Orcs or not Orcs?
It was round 4 of Nats.
Nats, yeah.
Yeah.
It was good. Like I remember being like really impressed. Like, it was the first time that I'd ever played them. And it gave us a run for our money for sure. So I haven't really seen much of them this past year, but I'm really they're great. And just in terms of polish and being clean, UVA is always clean. If you are not in the right place and you're messy, you will look worse than how UVA looks, just because they're not gonna mess up. So I'll say those two.
Yeah, everyone has pretty much repeated all the teams I was gonna say. As much as I want to pick a dark horse and go out on a limb, I'm gonna say Patrick Henry and UVA. I mean, Nats is weird in that, like, the kind of sharing of ideas by like virtue of just everyone competing against everyone just doesn't exist. It's like, who can get it right on the first try? Like, who has the coaching staff and the know-how and the talent to do it correctly and the best on the first try? And like, Patrick Henry is just an exceptionally talented team this year, last year, just across the board, really good. And you just don't bet against UVA at nationals. Like, I know last year wasn't their year at nationals, but James Orr knows what he's doing. Like, that they're going to be very good. They're going to be a threat. I don't know. I would be totally unsurprised to see UVA with that trophy again at the end of the year.
Last question. You guys are all seniors. Tell me what you guys are doing next year.
Riya,
I think it's your turn.
I'm going to be working in consulting for a couple of years and then potentially law school after that. Maybe coaching programs when I graduate, but that's the plan for now.
Riya, you have your own mock trial company. Is that right?
Oh, yes, that is also true. Bennett and I are actually writing a case right now about for a new competition that we're doing, a high school competition. But yeah, so I think I'll probably keep that going for a little bit post-graduation. And yeah, I mean, that's also going on right now. So lots of things in the works.
What's the name of the company?
It's called Mock On. So if anyone would like to judge for a high school competition, please feel free. We're doing a really fun case this year. I won't reveal it because the case release isn't for a couple of weeks, but it's really, really going to be a good time. So please check us out.
Yeah. Where do you see the company in 5 years?
That's a big question.
It's an interview now.
I think originally, I think originally it's just started out as a way to fill the void when COVID first took mock trial away from everyone. Because I missed it, everyone missed it. You know, it's not really like we just wanted some way to keep it going. And then after that, like, we realized that there were a lot of like inequities for high school students, just like there are for AMTA programs, that we had a really easy way of solving on our own, like, you know, just by using the resources that we had, like each other. And so I think we've been really fortunate to have been able to, you know, put out a lot of resources helping programs that don't have the money to pay for coaches or don't have, you know, the ability to get to a really competitive point when they have the drive and the talent, but just not the know-how. And so it gives me a lot of satisfaction to be able to, I think, fill that gap as best as we can for people who are looking for resources that they otherwise wouldn't have access to. So I guess that's a long way of saying that those kinds of resources in general are easy to provide. And if we have the ability to, then I will do my best. And, you know, the people who I work with will, like, I'm sure, like, we'll all do our best to keep that going as long as we can. As for like where we'll be in 5 years, honestly, it's difficult to say just because life can evolve a lot in 5 years. So I guess I'll just say, like, as long as people need support and need resources, I will do my best. And everyone else who, you know, is part of Mock On, like, we'll all keep doing our best to be there and provide them as much as we can.
Sarah, what are you doing next year?
Next year, I will be a 1L at UCLA, and I will not be done with mock trial because, as many people know, Justin Bernstein coaches their team. It's top team in the country. They're really good. I'm really honored to be able to be there. And I don't think that they have first semester 1Ls compete, but probably second semester you join the team just so you can get like more oriented. So yeah, hope to be for the first time since I think I was a junior in high school have a coach. And I'm so excited to not have to like make all the decisions all the time and like have guidance from a wiser, older, like obviously I take guidance from Riya all the time, but it's like when you have to make hard decisions on a team, having a coach is just like, oh, like I can't even imagine how much better that would be. So yeah, I'm really happy and looking forward to that.
I agree. Justin is old. Definitely. Totally.
He's wise.
Okay. Yeah, I obviously I'm biased, but I think that was a pretty good choice by you. As someone who was in your position a couple of years ago working with him, I think you're gonna have a great time. Have you talked to any of the people on the team over there?
Yeah, actually, I visited over winter break, and so me and a couple, I think 3 Ls, maybe 3, and Justin all had lunch and alcohol sitting outside. We're all 21, whatever, but it was a great way to get to know the team. Just sitting in the sun, like, oh God, it was the best.
LA is not bad.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Have
I'm
you
really
talked-
sad I won't get to, sorry?
Have you talked to Sydney?
I like not personally, because I didn't know for a while that she even went to UCLA Law. And recently, like we just sort of talking a little bit on Instagram, but like, I've definitely reached out to her like closer to the date that I'm going there, because I really want to ask for advice and resources from people I know who go there, but I don't want to do it too early. Like, I don't want to be like sucking away like my limited resources from all the people who are there. But probably over the summer when I'm moving there and trying to find an apartment, all of that.
Brett, how about you? What are you doing next year?
I'm not as committed / have the like wherewithal to go to law school right away. Like I need a little, I feel like I've gotten a break as a senior. Like I've barely any classes right now, but like I need a little like law mock trial schooling break. So I will be moving back to New York, and I will be hopefully, knock on wood, in some legal program for 2 years. I actually just got a job offer today, like literally 30 minutes before this call.
Congratulations.
Really exciting. But I have a couple more firms that I need to hear back from, and then I'll make a decision. But yeah, like getting some legal experience. Right now I'm looking at a bunch of different, more corporate, businessy areas.
Yes. Corporate law.
Yeah, it's not even, I had no idea like what, I mean, obviously my child is like solely like litigation and like it's like, I don't know if I want to go into white collar, criminal. So this is definitely wasn't what I was, set on, but it seems like cool stuff. So yeah, that's where I will be for 2 years, and then hopefully law school after that.
New York is a short drive from Philly.
I know, I'll be back. Like from Philly, yeah.
I'll email you the application.
Okay, perfect. Sounds
good.
And
I don't think I've ever asked you what you're doing next year. I think the last time I talked to you, you were a junior.
No, I am the least put together of the four of us by a mile. I also am gonna go to law school at some point. I, like Brett, cannot do it next year. Like I need to take a year to not do school. But I don't know what I'm gonna be doing yet. I just know, like, I've applied to a bunch of jobs and keep applying. Cannot be legal. Like I will not be a paralegal. Like I will not do anything legal. It must be totally different. That is all I am sure about at this point. But I'll be somewhere doing something.
Yeah, I'll just throw out there, like I took a gap year before I came to college, and that's part of the only reason that I wouldn't do it before. Like, so smart for taking gap years, all of you, before law school. Like the only reason I'm not doing it is because I already did it, and I've had that experience and I don't want to repeat it again. But like, go travel, go work, go do all of that, because I think 1L is like the most stressful year for grades, and like it's going to be rough. But I'll let y'all know exactly how rough in about a year.
Well, thank you guys for doing this. I'm hoping that the round we just watched was a preview for the NCT final. I think that'd be really awesome. I'm sure you guys would love that, and I'm certainly rooting for that.
I would laugh.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for coming on. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you for having
us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.